tired, so tired, overtired.
This episode is brought to you by Hims. Stay tuned for more info. And welcome to Overtired. It's great to have you back. I'm here with Jeff Severance Gunsel and Christina Warren. Welcome back. It's been a couple weeks.
Hello.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
So we've been starting with gratitude, and I gotta say, starting with gratitude has meant that for the last two episodes we haven't had the mental health corner, and honestly, without the mental health corner, I don't want to do the show anymore.
Yeah, I think where we landed, I don't know if this was a complete chat in our thread, but I think where we landed was to switch it back, but just to somehow
to put
police
a cap.
ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna switch it back.
We don't need 45 minutes for a mental health corner. We can keep that. We can keep it down to 5 minutes per person plus a little chat and get us down to no more than half the show.
We barely even get to Taylor Swift anymore.
Right.
Exactly.
I know it's
but the whole world kind of overtook us, really.
Honestly, they did, and now it's not even funny to be like, "Oh, this is a Taylor Swift podcast," because people are like, "Oh, really? Another one?" And I'm like,
you think it's good SEO,
right? And it's like trying to explain to people, it's like, no, it's actually not. That's sort of the joke, because
I tried to get us to change it to Cat Williams, but go ahead, sorry, Christina.
No, I mean, look, honestly. Oh, okay. Have you guys seen? If we were going to switch it to something, if we were going to have a new hyperfixation, would it would be the "Who the fuck did I marry" TikTok lady?
Oh, who's that? I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to have to explain this to you. We can do it after the health corner. Yeah.
Because of your understandable, exasperated, oh my God, I have completely fucked my TikTok algorithm, with the people who do live feeds from oil rigs and the like. There's some guys who are just cutting up lumber every night live, as that and now baby monkeys. That's my TikTok.
Was this because of intentional decisions? How did you?
Oh hell yeah! I love TikTok, and I love how I can just be like, you know what? Right now I'm really into oil rigs and lumber mills, and then sometimes I'm just into Cat Williams and let's see, talking dogs. And you know what? I don't mind. TikTok knows me. Okay, sorry, I'll stop there. But Christina, can you tell me now what this is? Because I'm always looking for leads.
So this is, I'll be very brief on this, but we'll have a link in the show notes to a Rolling Stone thing, because this is the first thing I found SEO-wise that looked somewhat decent. There are if you want to watch the whole thing, you can watch it on her TikTok, but people have also uploaded it to YouTube, although she should have, so she can get some of the YouTube views, and that way you can play it on full-time, like 2x speed. But basically, this woman, she goes by Risa Mtisa. Last week she started, or maybe she started it a little bit before that. I heard about it on Monday, and then it's blown up since then. Basically, she's put out a 50+, and yes, this is accurate, 50+ part series on TikTok called "Who TF Did I Marry?" and basically talking about this pathological liar that she married, and it's insane. It's the most insane story. So this story is 6 hours long.
Wow,
it's nuts. And the details, all the things that are psychologically wrong with this man. And I peeped our notes, talking about abusive partners, Brett, this guy, holy fucking shit. We're talking making up relative deaths, making up relatives, fake phone calls to no one, fake bank accounts, pretending to buy a house when you don't actually have the money for said house, completely faking what career he had, having multiple side chicks, being previously married in ways he didn't say before. Literally, this man that she married lied about everything, and then lied about the lie.
Is his name George Santos?
No, but someone found him. Sorry, go on.
I had a pathological liar girlfriend, and it wasn't honestly, obviously it wasn't as involved as getting married to someone,
right?
But in retrospect, I could not believe the stuff she lied about. Literally, her entire life was a fabrication. It's stuff that you wouldn't. Why would you even lie about it? She just made shit up for the sake of making shit up.
Yeah, totally. And this guy, I think it's kind of a mix of those things. But anyway, the interesting thing is she does take some responsibility, because there's some stuff and you're like, all right, look, girl, I get that it was the pandemic and you were lonely and you wanted to have a baby and all kinds of shit. But side note, she had a miscarriage, but then he told the few family members he was talking to, because most of them cut him off, that she had the baby, and then when they were getting divorced, he was going to be fighting her for custody. even though
God.
like
wow,
like nuts, right? So this whole thing is fucking crazy. So it's basically, you guys know that Zola. Remember the Zola Twitter thread, right?
No.
Okay, it was
We're
a movie.
so not hip.
It's called X.
No. Well, true, but this was back when it was very much Twitter, and it was even turned into an A24 film. So,
okay, got it.
Basically, is this this stripper who like this she met like this white girl at Hooters, who then like took her basically on like a trap trip with a bunch of Johns, and like a bunch of shit went down. It's like the most insane. It's this famous viral tweet that turned into a movie. Anyway, this is like Zola, but without the sex work.
Okay.
But it's that sort of like viral thing where like everybody's watching this fucking. The interesting thing here from like a social perspective is you have millions and millions of views on this per installment. So she's got 50 plus installments. Millions of people are watching this thing. It's, you know, obviously not on your TikToks, but it's on mine, and it's on basically everybody I knows. And then people, of course, as they do, can't not be fucking weirdos online. So even though she was very clear about the fact that she was like, I don't want to like uncover the real people behind this, of course that's the very first thing the internet's going to do, and then be very proud of themselves when you have like women being like, oh, we're outing abusers, and this is Legion, who is what she'd call the guy. His name is Jerome. He's now putting his own responses on TikTok because of course he is.
Oh my god.
Anyway, like also she's from Atlanta, and so she goes into ridiculous amounts of detail about some of the things. So, like the first thing she said, she was like, oh yeah, you know, our first date was at the Cheesecake Factory at Perimeter Mall. And I'm like, I fucking worked at Perimeter Mall. I've been to that Cheesecake Factory.
Perimeter Mall, that's quite a name.
Perimeter, yeah.
Perimeter, sorry.
Yeah,
okay,
Perimeter.
got it.
Sorry, I didn't enunciate well enough. But I'm like, I worked at that mall. I worked at the Abercrombie at that mall. I worked at the Best Buy across the street from that mall. Like,
oh man, how have we not talked about this?
Do they, when the rent-a-cops at the mall go out on patrol, do they say, I'm going to secure the perimeter?
Oh my god.
This is a rich mall, so like the rent-a-cops are very, very laid back.
Have I ever told you all the story
Segways?
They did back in the day.
Have I ever told the story in this podcast of when I was arrested by thanks to a secret shopper for shoplifting?
No.
I finally some shoplifting stories.
And where did you shoplift from?
It was a grocery store. It was a grocery store in Minot, North Dakota. We could put it on the topic list for later. I finally told. Now both of my boys know, so I feel like I can tell it on a podcast.
Maybe you told this story to me over tacos last time I was in Minneapolis.
I think that's likely. I don't think I would have told it on the podcast.
Yeah,
I'm ready. It doesn't have to be. Well, this could be a teaser for the next episode. It doesn't have to be in this one.
It doesn't have to be this one. No, but I need to know about this. So I've never shoplifted. That's the one thing I've never done. I've never shoplifted. I've stolen plenty of things from digital. You wouldn't download a car. Oh, but I would. But like, I would definitely download a virtual car. But I've never shoplifted, not because I even am that opposed to it. I mean, I am, but like, I'm not. Like, I'm indifferent is what I should say. If it's not my store, I'm going to be completely selfish. I kind of don't care. But, you shouldn't steal from mom and pops or whatever. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
For
oh
it,
yeah.
but,
No.
but,
For sure.
You know what I mean? I'm indifferent is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But
and I want to be clear. The last time I shoplifted was this story, and it was in 1998. I just want to be clear for the record. Any prospective, employers, it's over.
The statute of limitations actually does apply here. No, I'm just saying, like, for me, it wasn't like a moral reason why I never shoplifted. I just knew that I would get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yep.
I was always getting in trouble for shit other people did. I didn't need to tempt fate.
Right.
And I never really got like a rush out of shoplifting. Like I tried it, and it like other people would like do it for the thrill of it.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember a little craze called wahooing?
Oh, remind me. I mean, I think I'm familiar.
You bring something sizable up to the checkout at the counter, and when they ring it up, you just yell wahoo and you run out of the store.
Okay.
And to me, that was a little more interesting than trying to like hide things in a trench coat.
Totally.
And half the time
shoplifted a trench coat.
half the time we would go back and just pay for it, because it wasn't about like we couldn't afford bread, so we were shoplifting to feed our families. We were just, teenagers.
No, you just no. I mean, I never did that, and I never dined and dashed. Although we did do a thing once when I was 16, where we wanted to see how many restaurants we could get kicked out of in 24 hours by like starting fake fights in like Denny's and IHOP, and it's really hard to get kicked out of an IHOP.
I was gonna say.
Waffle House too. Well, we didn't even try at Waffle House. Waffle House, we would know better than trying there because they're not like just yelling at one another. Like also,
they're like, what? There's a fight.
The wait staff would just knife you.
They would, and the thing is too is that you respect the Waffle House like staff. Like I respected them a lot.
Respect the Waffle House
you fucking should for fucking real. And
they're
like
basically frontline workers.
I mean, honestly,
exactly.
One of my favorite Waffle House waitresses. She was also a stripper at like the strip club that was nearby, but she had a temper, really hot girl. And so she would lose her job as a stripper and then she'd come back to Waffle House. And then Waffle House like blacklisted her a few times, but this is before their computer systems could really do that. So she just lied about who she was and she'd go to a different store. But she'd also been blacklisted by IHOP, I think. And her boyfriend was a drug dealer and had all kinds of really expensive sound equipment. And she and I used to talk about like high-end stereo equipment all the time, which is a weird thing to do when you're drunk at 4:00 in the morning. But like,
you're a dude.
I mean, if you're two hot girls, though, it kind of is. But anyway,
not to be highly gendered, but I'm just speaking from my lived experience.
But anyway, that's a tangent. But yeah. I never did wahooing, but we would try to like get kicked out of restaurants. Because that was just funny.
That sounds stressful as hell to me. Like everything I did wrong, I did quietly. When really the only thing I did like technically wrong was shoplifting, and then immediately after I stopped that, I started going illegally to Iraq. It was just like I had to be breaking the law somehow.
Well, I mean, which is impressive. You go from like stealing something from a grocery store, which we got to talk about this on another episode. I need to like dig into the psychology here, to then sneaking into another country. Like, wow. Like just the levels there. I'm like, I'm stealing some gum to I'm literally crossing the border into a country that I'm not supposed to be in.
With medical supplies that I'm smuggling in because it's illegal for Americans to be there. This is, for anyone who's wondering, this is pre-war. This is during the sanctions. It wasn't illegal for Americans to be there once there were
once the war was there, then it's like, oh no, come on over. Want a gun? Want some
what's
weapons?
Illegal about Abu Ghraib? No, it's fine. Come on in.
It's fine. Come on in. We'll do it. But yeah, before that, the sanctions. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, okay, we'll pin that. It is. I will just say as a added teaser, this mostly happened on tour, because when you're on tour, you feel it's like Deadwood. There's no law at all, and my brother and I both had this tendency, we'll call it. And my brother had a great story, which I'll share, but that I recently had drafted up by Dali. And I'm trying to draft up other stories from being on tour, which I mentioned when Merlin was on, but that was one. And I'll talk about that that'll be the show art when we go.
Awesome. All right.
So
maybe my brother should be our guest, because he and I were the shoplifters together.
I was telling you guys about some weird dreams I had, and it would be amazing to get Dali to illustrate those. And
I've been doing it.
Up,
I've been doing it with my weird dreams. I've been doing it with my weird dreams. I love it.
Should we do a mental health corner?
Let's do it.
Okay. Who wants to start?
I don't mind starting.
Yeah,
go
Christina.
for it.
Okay. First, I'm just going to say I have a giant thing of water.
Huge.
Hear that? And this is part of taking care of myself.
Bigger than his head.
I'm working outside today. I'm building a little loft storage in my garage. And when I'm working outside, my kids call this Aqua Chungus. It's a half-gallon water bottle. And I'm going to be drinking from it to stay hydrated in this podcast. And every time you hear it, I'm taking care of my mental health, because that's really important. Here I go.
Drink.
Yeah. Okay. And this also, Aqua Chungus has a hook on it for some reason. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do with that. Put it on my belt.
I maybe it's supposed to be able to like hang on to like a, I don't know, like a boat or something. I don't know, like a car. I don't know.
Yeah, for those listening, it's not so much a hook as it is an anchor with like two prongs on the side.
I think that this could be a whole new thing we do on this podcast, which is describe interesting objects that nobody can see.
Have you ever,
I like this.
Have you ever seen described porn?
No.
They make these like Pornhub has them for visually impaired people.
Okay.
Where like you can hear the soundtrack, and like if you are visually abled, you can see it. But there's this like soothing voice over the top of it that describes
the
in
audio
explicit detail exactly what is happening in every scene, I find it very humorous.
That's interesting. That's
interesting. A 10-inch thick cock is punching its way into a tight. Yeah,
that's interesting.
No, is it done like seriously, or is this actually an accessibility thing?
No, it's an accessibility thing for sure.
No, I mean, well, the reason I was asking is because one of the things I have appreciated about Pornhub over the years is that even though they're very thirsty and very aggressive to try to make you write about every stupid little like publicity stunt they do, or at least they did back in the day, I don't know if that's true anymore, would be that they did have some pretty funny publicity stunts. So I could see that being as like a thing where they're like, oh yeah, we're going to release this as a feature and do a press release about it, but then also maybe actually still have it as like a true accessibility thing too, which, not gonna lie, like there's a market for it.
I mean, people read V.C. Andrews books.
No fucking fanfic is incredibly popular, and not to mention like the most read like novels, like the books that people sell that make the most money are the fucking smutty ass like weird like dragon like romance shit aimed at women. Yeah.
That's like, okay, I will do my mental health check-in, but you made me think of this. Go ahead, Brett.
I just want to point out that this is why our mental health sections go for 45 minutes because half the podcast is like embedded in the mental health.
Fair enough. Totally. Totally. I will say at this point we can very clearly siphon this off now. It's like, this is opening banter. And then we can go into.
That's right. All I've really done is water so far, so I'm just going to quick say this. I've been obsessed all year with The Godfather. I rewatched it. I watched the series, the limited series, The Offer, about bringing it to screen. And I'm now reading a book that's just kind of a culmination of all of other sort of books and reporting of the making of The Godfather. What I never realized, I knew Mario Puzo's book was like, at the time, was selling more copies than the Bible.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how completely inane and insane the sex scenes are in that book.
They
because
are.
There's excerpts of them. And I was just like, I see why it was the biggest selling book. And it wasn't because it was the mob.
No, there's this whole thing about like the woman that Sonny fucks at the wedding has like a really big pussy, like and that's why it's been difficult for other men like to be able to like fill her well, and that's why like she has to like fuck.
This is described porn. Okay.
I know. So I'm not trying to interrupt you. I'll talk about this after our mental health corner thing, Jeff. But I do want to pick up on your Godfather obsession after this, because I want to know what book you're reading, because I have thoughts. But anyway, sorry, go on.
I do think our show title is described porn.
Yes. Sponsored by Hims.
Did you?
Oh shit! Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So my mental health corner topic is like, this has been true of me for a while, but I've been experiencing it again. There's a tendency in my friends. Most of them are men, identify as men. A couple of them are women, identify as women. And it fucking makes me crazy. And so I'm going to say it and then I'm going to ask you a question. I can't stand it when somebody tells me in the context of our friendship something that's going on with them that's really hard, especially when there's someone who maybe doesn't even share that stuff that often. And now here they are, right? They're telling you about something that's happened to them, something that's happening inside them, whatever. It's very, very, very hard. And you say the thing that you say, which is like, I'm really sorry this is happening to you. Or you say whatever it is you say that's like an empathy thing. And what they say back is, I mean, it's okay. Right? Which I find to be, I understand why it happens. I'm not judging it, right? But the older I get, and the more frustrated I am with it, and I realized it's not because I care about them. It's because as a friend, I'm walled out right there, right? Mm-hmm. Like you've told me this stuff and now you go, it's fine. Like, and I don't mean like that happens sometimes. Sometimes it is fine, right? Like I'm not saying every time that happens, triggers this thing in me, but I've found that like it's really hard to feel the connection that I felt when I was talking to them. If when you acknowledge or reflect that thing back in a way that is totally normal inside your friendship, it's not, I'm not like, it doesn't feel like I'm doing that part wrong. And then it's just, it's okay. It's okay.
Is this a Midwest thing, do you think?
No, I mean, no. I have a friend.
It's a Protestant thing, I think.
Yeah, yeah, right. No, I mean, I've had it from people all over the world that are my friends. And so anyway, I was curious. I was curious for both of you. I know that for me, it is hard to hear someone say back to me after I've told them something hard, like that sucks. Sounds really hard. Like I understand that can be a weird thing to receive sometimes, but I think my typical response is like, yeah, shit, thank you. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
It sucks.
That's mine too. Is like, yeah, it is.
And Christina, what about you?
Well, it varies because I mean, I think that it'd be more healthy if I said thank you, or it does. But I think a lot of times my instinctual response is not to be like, it is honestly like, it's fine, it's whatever.
That's different, I think.
Right. And to me, like, I think that it isn't so much because I'm like, oh, I don't want to let you in. Because the fact that I'm sharing it with you at all means that I've let you in. It just means that I'm at least the way I intended, and maybe it doesn't come across this way. So I agree. I think like the way that you two respond is better, but I think the reason I'm like, yeah, it's whatever. It's fine. It's whatever is because I'm kind of like, I've shared this with you, but I'm not necessarily in a place where I know that I can solve this or I can do anything about it. So, you know,
I'm super interested in this because I'm thinking about, you're causing me to think about things I hadn't thought. So that doesn't trigger me in the same way, because here's how I hear that. And I want to see if this is partly how you feel like you mean it when you say it. How I hear that is like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. Fuck. It's, you know, like, it's just like, it's, to me, that's a version of saying, yeah, fucking sucks. Right.
Yeah.
It's the thing. It's not when someone does the, like, it's okay. Literally those words seem to be the pathological thing, whether your first language is English or not. It's my experience. And for me, it's not that I want more, right? It's not like, no, don't cut me off. It's kind of like, it's just like a hard landing. It's like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, no, and I think you're right. I mean, I think sometimes though, there's a weird thing too, where I think, and you are, I think, probably right, and to pick up on this and right to have feelings about it, which is sometimes I think we can share things with people, and we can be and we can be like that vulnerable to do it, but we are then not vulnerable enough to continue to open up to it. So it's like, I can share this to you. I can share this with you, but I don't want to have a conversation about this, right? Like I can say, and that happens sometimes where I'm like, I'm going to share this with you, but you know what? I do not want to talk any further about it. I don't want to hear you even like, it's great for you to say, oh, I'm so sorry about that. But if you want to talk more in depth, because people always like, oh, well, you know, I'm here for you if you want to talk. And a lot of times I'm like, I appreciate that. I really don't, you know, like it's been enough for me. Like I've exalted my vulnerability for the day by been telling you this thing. I'm not yet in a place where I can go beyond that.
Yeah. Now that you say it like that, I realize what I often do is I will, like, you know me, I share everything with everybody. And I'll share something really vulnerable and they will react the way Jeff does. Like, that really sucks for you. I'm sorry. And I will say,
it sucks to be you.
No, I will say, I will say, yeah, thank you. It does suck. And then immediately change the subject. Like, I don't generally want to go into depth about everything that is all the things I wear on my sleeve. Like, I don't mind the acknowledgement, but I'm not looking for an in-depth conversation most of the time.
I so relate to that. And to Christina's point, I will sometimes say, this probably happens more in writing if I'm like texting with a friend. I will sometimes say like, look, I don't need a response to this, but I just need to share this, because let's be honest, the worst way to respond when you have shared something with somebody is for that person to then go down any of the roads that are like solutioneering or like, whatever. Like, I don't want that shit. Like, and I don't mean to present what I'm saying as like something I think is right or true, but I will say that in fairness, I will choose not to share something more often than not. So I'm not, like if I have kind of talked and someone says, shit, I'm sorry, that sucks. It's like, I actually really needed to hear exactly that. And I don't want any more than that,
My partner Elle is a problem solver.
Yeah,
their instinct, as soon as they hear something's wrong, they look for solutions, and that is so often not what I need.
Right. I can make that mistake sometimes too, and I think I've gotten better with it, but it depends on the person, and I know that can annoy people. My mom is like that. My mom is a problem solver, but she does know enough, and like, she's a counselor, so she doesn't do that like with people that she's just listening to talk. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think that she became a counselor, is because she's very good at that naturally. But with like me and my sister and my dad, like, because she wants to help so badly, she immediately goes into the, okay, well, how can we fix this mode? And I would have to oftentimes like tell her as a kid, or, teenager, or sometimes even as an adult, although she's a lot better as adults, we're much more communicative, where I'm like, no, I actually just need you to like be my mom and just listen. Like, I don't want any, advice. Because I know probably what I need to do or what my options are. I don't want to go down that road right now, because that's what's stressing me out. Like I think for a lot of people.
And it misses what I think is true about being human, which is that for the hardest things, what you need is to be able to describe them and say them out loud. And then something in you starts to work on that a little bit. There's something about having said it that isn't always going to be the solution, but it's like, I think when people go straight into solutions, which I've certainly been guilty of, I think it forgets the importance of just saying something out loud and what that does for a person. I mean, hence therapy, right? Sometimes you do need your therapist to talk back, but yeah. So anyway, I've just been thinking about that because I've run into it a couple of times. And again, like I say, so I'm 49 now. A lot of the friendships I'm talking about where this happens are very old friendships, right? Where I know the arc of their lives. I know what it looks like when things are really bad or really hard. I know when it's not okay. And we're close enough that it would be, some of us have talked about it to a really great effect, where it's fine to just, you don't have to say anything back. If I just register that I'm hearing you, but I don't do it. I like to think I don't do it overwrought or, and if anything, I understate it by saying like, that fucking sucks. I'm sorry, but I've found that in a lot of older relationships, that's where it can be hard. But I mean, how I deal with that actually is just to be like, it's not okay. You just spent 20 minutes talking to you about something that's totally not okay. We don't talk about it anymore, but I'm just going to be the one that says it's not okay.
Yeah.
And I get why you're saying, let's move on. Like, that is how I handle it, to be clear. Like, I don't just seethe. All right. But that's my bit.
All right.
Drink.
I'll go next. I will effort to keep it short. I have had insomnia for a couple months now. I, for a long time, was sleeping every other night. But then like on the off nights, I would wake up around 12 or 1 and then just be awake for the rest of the night. So I was functioning on 3 to 4 hours of sleep max every other night. And it was really dragging me down. So I talked to my psychiatrist. We've gone through a couple meds. The first one's actually made it worse. I can't remember the name of what I just started last night, but it was the first night I slept in the last 6 days. And I'm not manic, just to be clear. Like, I'm not, none of the other symptoms are there other than sleeplessness. I just, for some reason, have stopped sleeping. I think it might be circadian rhythms. As the days get longer, I think my system might just be off. So I'm using like a full spectrum light in the mornings to try to like shake this. But anyway, second point, I had my first actual IFS session on Tuesday.
Internal family systems.
It was very interesting. Like, as we've talked about, I'm a little skeptical of the entire process, but also have read enough that I think it would be very beneficial to me. And immediately, like, I discovered parts of me that I had no idea were there and made a lot of sense. And Ella's convinced that some of the weird dreams I had last night were a result of beginning IFS therapy.
Oh, interesting.
And the last thing I'll say actually relates to something Jeff was talking about. A girl that I dated briefly in college and haven't talked to in 20 years has recently gotten in touch with me. And like, she got in touch with me before this shit went down. But the guy that she was she said they're not dating, but they hang out every day and they make out. And like, this is what I pieced together is much like when we were together in college. She doesn't want a boyfriend, but she'll like do all the things that a partner does. And then all of a sudden she texts me that he's in treatment, that they forced him into treatment. And I had no inkling of this before, but he tested positive for like every drug known to man. He broke out of treatment. He broke into her house. He's being scary as hell. She sends me videos that he sends her where he is like crazed and manic, and it is terrifying. And I'm 2 hours away from her. I don't know how to respond other than to say, I'm really sorry you're going through this. Here are the shelters near you if you need a safe place to go. And she doesn't shut me down. Like, she seems grateful that she has someone to share all this with, because like his entire family is being terrorized right now, and they can commiserate, but they can't take a calm external look at it. And so that has been, honestly, it has added some interest to my otherwise very stable life. But I have I'm really worried about how this ends and what happens next. So,
yeah. How did you end up back in touch?
She texted, like, we have been friends on Facebook for 20 years and we've never said a word to each other directly. And then she texted me. I can't remember how she got my number, but yeah, she just kind of texted me out of the blue. How you doing? And then she kept promising we were going to FaceTime sometime, and then always flaked on it, which is okay. But yeah, like she owns a restaurant and is, for all intents and purposes, seems to be doing well. But she got in with a scary guy. And honestly, the guy that we're talking about is the guy who did all my tattoos. He used to be a roommate of mine. Like, they were never.
Interesting. So this is a dual connection.
Those two were not friends back then, but they have connected since.
So they were like you're all part of the same circle, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And I liked the guy. He was passionate and very good looking, like did some modeling, and like he was an interesting person to be around, but we were definitely junkies together.
Yeah.
We definitely went through all of the stages of junkiedom together. So I know what he's like high too. And that's pretty scary. Yeah. And I also, like, I really think he's bipolar. Like, you can be whacked out on a bunch of drugs without acting the way he's acting, and you can be manic and act that way without any drugs. But you combine the drugs with mania, and that describes what I'm seeing from him.
That's hard.
I think he's fueling mania with drugs.
Which is really, I mean that's the worst. I mean, I dated someone who when he went off of his medication and then started abusing cocaine, like, it was a real problem. And basically that ended our relationship, because he was bipolar before and dealt with it and whatnot. But then when it was okay, I'm going to purposely go off my medication and I'm going to start like using cocaine excessively and whatnot, I was like, okay, this is not a safe or a good, environment for me to be in. I'm done. Especially when you're like 22, like it's just, you can't do that. And you're right. Like that's just like another level nightmare to have, like the combination, if what you're saying is right. Cause it's like either of those things on their own can be really bad, but together it's a really dangerous combination for everybody involved.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I will end mine there so we can try to contain our mental health corner. So Christina, your turn.
I've been ADHD as fuck. I've been having a really hard time focusing and concentrating. I've mentioned that before, and it's still a problem. So I'm trying to kind of, I don't know, see if I can like workshop some other solutions, try to do some other things. But this has like been worse than it's ever been in my life where if I can kind of force myself into a mode where I'm actively working on something, it's fine. But if I'm not actively like forcing myself, like I'm right now on the podcast, although while I'm recording with you two, I'm listening to you talk, but I'm also like looking up a bunch of other random stuff in the background and like multitasking, and I am engaged and I am listening and whatnot, but I'm, you know, my brain is doing a bunch of other things. So I don't know what this means. I don't really know what to do about it, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. So yeah.
I assume no medication changes. This is just
no. This is just, yeah, I mean, I'm
a
still
balance change.
Yeah, this is just exactly. And it's one of those things. So like, you know, I have been off of antidepressants now completely for a couple of months now. And I don't know if that's had any sort of impact or not. I mean, I have to say anecdotally, it does feel like it's gotten worse, but at the same time, I don't really, you know, like the antidepressants weren't working. So yeah, I don't know. I think that there are probably, I'm probably going to need to do some CBT stuff to try to maybe get into a better mindset of some things I can do to maybe rewire myself to like not solve the ADHD, because I don't believe like that CBT can do that, but some things that I can do to like force myself into better habits. So that I can then get into a better place. Because I think what tends to happen, at least for me, is that things can become rote and you can become like, you can allow yourself to get away with, you know, giving into the ADHD and then get kind of like off schedule, off track. And I'm just trying to get myself to that place where I'm, you know, I'm honestly like trying to like scream at myself and be like, get your shit together. Like, do the hard
just
things.
Trying to be a normal person.
Right. Like, get your shit together, do these things. It's not like everything's going to be okay magically. And it's not like, you know, you're going to immediately not struggle with this stuff, but you're going to have to, like, I'm just trying to get myself to that point where I can get the lethargy out and actually like force myself into being like, no, actually, this is not okay. And we need to do some things to fix this, because medicine alone is like, I think at this point, I don't think it's a medicine thing. It's, well, like the thing that medicine can solve. It's like my brain is broken. It's a biochemical thing. But I also think that there are probably some like behavioral things that I need to change.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's
what
my theory.
I found too. I found like medication can get me to a certain point. But once I started therapy just about a year ago, I began developing like actual like life skills that I didn't have for like specific, not general life skills, but specifically for dealing with things like bipolar and ADHD. And while I will always say, take your meds, like
always
don't be scared of medication for any of the reasons that people give you. But there is a behavioral component to all of it. And I don't know anybody who's, I do. Okay. I know some people. I don't know many neurodivergent people that are single diagnosis. So when you start treating multiple disorders with medication, it becomes a tightrope walk. Like you're talking about maybe stopping antidepressants, change the way your ADHD presents itself. And it's such a tightrope walk when you have multiple diagnoses.
It's a tightrope walk where you're always doing that tightrope walker thing where you're like one leg's on and you're going,
No, you know, you make a good point. I don't know how many people, I mean, I know that there are people who could have like, you know, single diagnosis, and I'm not trying to limit that because obviously they're all part of our neurodivergent family or whatnot. But yeah, I think most, it's weird because it's like for me, it's like anxiety, depression, ADHD. Some people are, you know, bipolar, or some people, you know, like ASD or like other things. And, but you know, OCD, I definitely had OCD as a kid. I don't anymore to the same degree, but like I was definitely like not like to the point where, you know, it interfered with my day-to-day life, but I was definitely OCD as a kid. But I think you're right. Like very rarely do any of these diagnoses like fit one box. Most people are multiple. And to your point, like that, then that's what complicates treating stuff. I think especially with people who don't have access to good care or care that even gives a damn. Because like if you go to a GP, they're going to give you one drug to try to solve this thing without
because it also makes it really hard to diagnose.
Yeah.
Like a lot of ASD people start off being diagnosed with depression and anxiety.
Right.
But those are actually symptoms of autism. I mean, in their case.
I think
so they get treated incorrectly. Right. Yeah.
I think one of the things with autism too, though, to be fair, is that over the last like 10 years, the definition, even as like from doctors, not even talking about the community, which is a whole separate thing, but the definition from doctors has expanded quite differently than where it was even before a decade ago. So you're right. But I think that like it, I think I sometimes see people who are like, oh, why wasn't I diagnosed with this 20 years ago? And it's like,
sure, because
the diagnostic criteria was different then. But yeah, for sure, like when I was a kid, like depression was the most active thing that I could pick up on from the commercials for the mental health treatment facility, which is how I diagnosed myself. But anxiety has always been like the driving thing, really.
Yeah.
And so, but for me, the thing that I was able to like identify with as a symptom was like, oh, I'm depressed, right? So I very immediately diagnosed with depression, and then very, very soon after that was like, oh, you also have anxiety disorders. Like, huh, shocker. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oy. That tightrope walk fucking sucks. Well, I will just say maybe this is in closing, maybe not. Is that like, Christina, what you were describing, where it's like, I'm off the depression meds. I heard you kind of essentially saying like, I don't feel like fucking with medications right now. Like this is, and like that, I only started taking medications in 2000. And the thing that's the phases that are the hardest for me is when, and it usually is in my case, I'm not at all putting this to you. In my case, it often is like, I'm really bad at doing the behavioral stuff. Mm-hmm. But like putting that aside, because that's just hard. I find that when something is when some aspect of me that I think I'm adequately medicating or dealing with the therapy, whatever acts up, it's kind of a hopeless feeling for a minute because I don't want to go down the medication road. But like, I've learned a lot about how the medication can help me. But I also learned if I go down that road, then maybe it gets a little worse at first or whatever. Yeah. That's just a terrible feeling.
No, it is. I mean, especially coming off of like the last 6 months that I had with like, I'm not in a place where I can, right? Like if I do,
right.
If I were to go, if I were to reestablish like a medication regimen again, and it's possible that I might have to do that, I know that I will have to like take a leave of absence from work. It will have to be one of those scenarios. Like I will not be able to go into, like if I were to try ketamine therapy, even like, stuff like, which I would like to do at some point, like it will have to be under the circumstances where I'm not trying to do what I did before. And so unfortunately, what that means for me is that I'm going to have to wait until it reaches kind of a critical point, or a more not critical, but a more critical point, because I don't feel like I have the luxury or the ability to be like, oh yeah, let's just experiment with meds right now. Right. Like, I know that when, and there will become a time for me to have to do that I will have to have supports set up and systems set up in my life so that I can focus just on that. And that's not an option right now.
Yeah. Does this where I go, it fucking sucks, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And you go, yeah, it's fine, whatever.
Oh, and I'm like, no, yeah, it does. Honestly, that's just all I say is, yeah, it does. But I will just say on the upside, like nothing's critical. I'm just really ADHD right now, but I'm not like, I don't want to actively harm myself, and I don't like, it's not like,
better than being horribly depressed.
Correct. I was gonna say, like, it's better than 6 months ago when I was like, don't really want to be alive, so it's better than that.
It is better. Maybe for our show notes, getting back to something you said earlier, maybe for our show notes, we just publish our search history during the recording of the episode. I feel like it would both hit the show notes and how much we're just like thinking about 80 things.
No, totally. I was going to be, which ironically, that was sort of like the original kind of genesis of the show. Brett and I was like, we'd go down like these, wiki K-holes of things where we talk about one thing and then go to the next, then go to the next, then go to the next. I mean, that's kind of the
almost as if we're both ADHD.
What?
Speaking of saying that sucks and then immediately changing the subject.
Let's do it.
This episode is brought to you by Hims. Hey, men, sometimes it can feel like we're too busy to take care of our health problems, But with so much going on, we don't want to spend our free time waiting around in doctor's offices and long pharmacy lines. Now you don't have to with Hims. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing simple and convenient access to science-backed treatments for erectile dysfunction, hair loss, weight loss, and more. The entire process is 100% online, so you can get a new routine of improving your overall health faster. Hims offers an array of high-quality options, including pills or chews for ED, and serums, sprays, or oral options for hair loss. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you for free in discreet packaging. No waiting rooms and no pharmacy visits. No insurance is needed. Pay one low price for your treatments, online visits, ongoing shipments, and provider messaging. You can even manage your plan on the Hims app, track progress, and learn more about your conditions and how to treat them from leading medical experts. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/overtired. That's HIMS.com/overtired for your personalized treatment options. hims.com/overtired. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See hims.com/overtired for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Oh my God, I nailed that. That was one take, no edits.
Hell fucking yeah. Let's go. Let's go, Hims.
You shouldn't even edit that part out. That's a good celebration.
I'm not gonna. I should podcast sober more often.
Honestly, that was so fun.
Oh my God.
So can I just want to, I came up, sorry, I'm fucking with my microphone. I came up with a new term. Tell me if it's original. I was looking for a Shopify plugin for a friend for a consult, and I found one that honestly seemed to be exactly what we needed. But when I went into the reviews, like there were these pages that were like top 10 plugins for this thing. And then you look and it's hosted by the people who made the plugin I was looking at. And it's kind of, it's black hat SEO, but I want to call it slutty SEO. Like it just, like that term came to me when I was trying to describe to them why I had hesitations about this. I was like, they have really, it's just kind of slutty SEO. So I think I'm going to make that a thing.
I like that. I probably would have, and it's so interesting. Like, and I like your characterization of it as slutty, but like I probably would have described it as like, oh yeah, that's just kind of like scummy, whatever.
Yeah,
SEO tactics.
Yeah, that's fair. That's probably less offensive to women who get called sluts all the time.
Well, see, but this is.
But I would never call a woman a slut.
But see, but I would
call SEO slutty.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I was going to say, but I kind of like the like. I kind of like the slut shaming aspect of
right,
it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because on the one, I think that it, like at this point, for a lot of people, slut has kind of been reclaimed, which is excellent. And honestly, when I call people sluts at this point, I'm not even being like, oh, you're easy, you're a whore or whatever. I'm like, you're a whore in a completely non-sexual way. Like, I don't care what you do with your body. Like, if I call you a whore, it's because I'm telling you how much I love you, or like it's something else, right? But like
there's a major book on polyamory called The Ethical Slut.
Yes,
and
there
I feel
is.
like it's been mainstreamed at this point.
Oh, it's incredibly mainstreamed. It's like if I have like one more people, like look, you do you. It's always just the ugliest people who want to tell you about their polycule. And I'm like, I don't want to imagine any of you fucking, you know? Like I'm happy for all of you, but I don't want to
I have heard gay men use the term slut about other gay men quite a bit. Like it doesn't seem to have the kind of like if a man says it about a woman,
oh yeah, no,
then that's very derisive.
Absolutely.
But a man saying it about another man, or like two girls saying it to each other in a more like playful way, I don't feel like it has the same.
It doesn't.
Stigma around
it. I mean, it can.
Anyway.
Like, to be clear, like some women calling other women like sluts and whores like can be very like, or, you know, but again, I was going to say like, at least for me, and I don't usually use the word slut unless I'm with people who I know will understand my meaning of it, because again, the connotations are still what they are. but again, this is why I like you calling it slutty SEO, is that my personal definition is now completely removed from like the sexual shaming aspect of it, right?
Yeah,
like,
same.
like if I call a woman, like again, if I call somebody a slut, it is either because I'm like, what's up, slut? Like lovingly, or it is just to be like, oh, you fucking suck. But I don't really care what your sexual proclivities are, right? Like I'm not making the judgment in that way. I'm like calling you a whore, but like I said, like I'm repeating what I said now. But at the same time, like if another woman were to call me that, like in some cases you do know that they mean it, like in a I'm sexually shaming you way, which okay, but that I understand like the hesitancy there. But yeah, you call it scummy SEO, slutty SEO though. I like that.
All right, we are at 50 minutes, and I know we talked about trying to do an hour-long episode. I want to talk about dimspired.me, but if we want to jump straight into Graptitude, I'm game.
No, do it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So I have for a couple of years been publishing #Dimspirations, which were inspired by inspirational posters, but not. Think despair.com kind of stuff. And I'm not the only person out there doing this, but I've had a lot of fun putting my darkest thoughts into meme format. I recently released, after a sleepless night, I released dimspire.me and or dimspire me, as you would say it in a sentence.
I love it.
And it has most of the dimspirations I've done over the last couple of years, and I've started updating regularly. And today I fixed the RSS feed, so now you can subscribe via RSS or email. And it's the Open Graph tags are set up such that you can share a URL from any dimspiration, and it'll put the preview image in like your tweet or your Mastodon post or your Facebook post. So I'm hoping to like get some legs out of this, because eventually I would like to merchandise it. I don't plan to ever paywall the online version, but I think if I took my best 12 and made a calendar, I think I could do okay with it.
It'd be a good calendar.
Yeah. I think
it's a fun site to make too.
I like you have my undivided attention, but even if you divided it, it's still 0. It's math.
Yeah, no, I had a lot of fun. The whole thing is automated tremendously. Like I have an affinity photo template with a bunch of guides in it, and I make sure the background covers the whole thing, and then all the text is within a certain square. And then I save that in retro batch, automatically outputs the square version for Instagram and the website, plus wallpaper versions and an iPhone wallpaper version. It zips it all up, creates a manifest for it, puts it on the website. I could run a single rake task and it'll add all of the new posts and the manifests, and then I can just add a pithy description
have you written this up?
No, I haven't. I posted on the blog about the launch.
Right. No, but
not about the automations.
Write a thing about the automations, because especially like whatever, like your if you're using GitHub Actions or any of those setups or whatnot, because I think that's really interesting.
It's all local. It's all local and very Mac centric, but
which is fine. But I think
could still be interesting.
I think it could be interesting to people, because I could see how that could be like you could turn that into a CI/CD thing. But even putting that aside, I would love to just read about how you've automated this.
All right.
I just want to say one that makes me laugh is you have one that says know your body, and then it's like the map of a body, and the head it says bad decisions, the shoulders inaction, the chest unavoidable reality, and everything from there down just is water. That's a good bit. That's a really good bit.
Yeah, I've had a few good ones over the years. And then I got political. Like when I get really tired, they come out like anti-gun violence and anti-genocide, and
what an asshole.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, and then I get flack. They're like, I wish you'd keep your politics out of this. And I'm like, is it really political to be like anti-kids dying or anti-genocide? Like, are these really like politically divisive issues? I don't know.
Apparently anti-Semitic to me, anti-genocide. Let's stop there. Next topic.
Yep. We don't want to get political.
No, well, actually, it's funny because somebody did have a topic here, which was should tech personalities express political views?
That was
which
Brad.
Is related to this. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just started because there's some issues. Like, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I will not talk publicly about the topic that you were just alluding to. Like, I'm not not going to say a fucking thing about that on any of my channels.
I will on Facebook. I'm more quiet about it where I have a bigger following like Twitter or even Mastodon. I'm not as in your face about my beliefs on the topic, but I won't shy away from it. And honestly, if I had as many followers as you do, Christina, I would probably be a lot more shy about sharing my political beliefs. But
Christina's like, I just want to keep my DMs.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I do just want to keep my DMs, but it's beyond that. But no, I get what you're saying. For me, though, it's just like there's like,
there's like so issues, on so Brett Terpstra on BrettTerpstra.com, I won't get political.
Right.
On my personal Twitter account,
sure,
I'm going to say whatever the hell I want.
No,
if I were like on my account for Oracle, no politics. Like that's not even an option. But I don't think that. I think if you follow a tech personality or any public personality, if you follow their personal account, you should expect to get to know them as a person.
Oh, I fully agree. And I'm completely okay with people making whatever decision they want to make about what they want to share or don't want to share, especially on their personal accounts. And I don't shy away from sharing some of my personal thoughts clearly, right? Like I've kind of like, that's been like part of my success, I think, is being authentic and whatnot. That said, there are some things that I'm just like, I know that nothing good is going to come from me personally speaking out about something, especially because I can't do anything to solve anything. Like I can't actually make any difference, right? So my personal reason for not speaking out has nothing to do with like thinking, oh, people shouldn't do it or whatnot. Because no, I mean, people should do whatever they are comfortable with. I'm just like, there's some political topics that I feel like, and I'll just be completely honest about it. There's some instances where it's easier because the stakes are lower because everybody's kind of on the same page. And then there are some where honestly the situation is so complicated and so complex and nuance is not
one or the other. It's usually not both.
and people,
but I won't get into that argument.
Right. But it's like, but like it's like such a complicated, complex thing. And then because there's no ability to have any sort of nuanced discussion, I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to participate. Like I'm not opposed to anybody else, and I might interact with some people's statements or whatever that I feel like I can kind of get behind, but like my own stuff don't need to have those conversations like publicly, personally. But I respect everybody else who wants to do that.
I get like I do research. I do my own research, but I'll do like legitimate research. If a topic, like if I can't understand where people are coming from on a topic, I will research and I will try to understand like where a contradicting argument or a viewpoint is coming from. And sometimes I find that argument so dissuasive that I can't keep my mouth shut. It just comes spilling out. Especially when I'm tired. Like I do not check myself well when I'm tired.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way, but it's weird. It's like the one thing, because I've had some people who have like kind of like yelled at me like, why aren't you saying anything about, what's happening in Gaza? And I'm like, because I'm not going to. Like, because I'm not going to. Like, that's just for my own mental health, frankly. I will completely own that I'm being selfish here. And I'm like, this is a case where I'm prioritizing my own like mental health to not get involved. Doesn't mean that I'm not paying attention. Doesn't mean I don't have opinions. But this is not a thing that I actually, for me right now, need to comment on in any way, shape, or form. And frankly, you don't need to hear my opinion. Like you don't need to care about it. You don't need to hear it. It doesn't matter to anyone. Having said that, like I completely support anybody else's right to speak out and go for it. I'm just saying, like,
it's a fucking brutal context and it's just brutal. I'm not getting us deep into that, into the issue of Israel-Palestine, but I will say that like it's been easier for me in life because I have personal experiences there and connections there, and that's just known. I've watched mass graves get filled with Palestinian bodies. But putting that aside, like, I think that it is fucking impossible for me to receive the kind of feedback or to have the kind of conversation that is so just fucked. And the reason it's hard is I think that the arguments people have, this isn't about which side.
Right.
I guess it probably always is in some way, and that's the problem. But the arguments people have, I think, in the way they have them, get them further and further away from the actual suffering and pain and horrors and murderous violence that is impacting people.
Well, I have so much to say, but I'm going to stop.
No, same. Yeah. I mean, same. And the only thing I'll say is I agree with you. I think that so much of, because it is literally on the whole issue is such a like theological and ideological, just fundamental disagreement that will not be solved. Because people do wind up having to go into sometimes two camps, like we do lose sight of the fact of like the death and the just the horrors of humanity that are happening. And like, to me, like that's the real like focus, but you can't have just that conversation because you cannot, unfortunately, it is impossible to disentangle it from the other aspect.
If you say the word genocide right now in completely out of context, you just say the word genocide, you start a political conversation. People get very irate. The U.S. has funded genocides throughout its history.
Of course we have.
It's not a crazy conspiracy statement to say that the U.S. funds genocide. And you don't have to be talking about a specific genocide to say maybe genocide is bad. Maybe we shouldn't do that.
No, I agreed. And no, absolutely, the U.S. has funded, genocide. I mean, like our previous support, like Jeff, the reason that we had sanctions in Iraq to begin with is ironically because we helped aid the genocide by Saddam Hussein against, his own
Kurds
citizens. The Kurds, exactly. Yes. Right. And not to mention like our support, of certain, South American regimes and people like Pol Pot. Like, there's a lot of history where the U.S. has 100% done that, and you're completely correct. This particular situation, though, because it is such a long-standing thing, and you're not. But I would say I would actually say this
only 1948. Damn, I can't help. We got to be careful.
Yeah, we should
not that long.
Stop.
No, but I was just gonna say but I'm just saying to close on this, like genocide is a political topic. Like it's not like it's not
fundamentally.
It's fundamentally about politics. I mean, that's really what it is. So
sure, but as non-politicians, is there anyone who's pro-genocide?
I think yes.
Okay, that scares me. The fact that
absolutely
that might.
I mean, look, I'll just say this isn't even about the Israel-Palestine. I would say that, like, if you think about Rwanda, you think about what happened in the former Yugoslavia. Like, yes, it's politicians that gin it up. It's the people who do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's super hard to think about.
You think about
Nazi Germany fucks me up because my people are all German, and like
I was going to say people did it right.
Wow.
And there have been many instances of that where there are people who go, and it is the governments who gin it up. You're exactly right. But it's the people who do it. And it's the people who do believe that there are some people who don't have the right to exist and are completely content with that.
Then there's all the people who said, I didn't realize how bad it was. Like you talk to people that were regular democratic German citizens in 1940. That they didn't realize how bad what was going on was, and they didn't feel the need to take a stance. Not that like it would have made a difference at the time.
I'm going to attempt to button this up by laughing at something I just said, which is Nazi Germany really fucks me up. I just want to like, it's like, oh really? Oh wow, that guy's really. God. That guy's
we got way off track here. I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate it. I this is great. All right, gratitude or what? Gratitude or bust.
Love it.
Okay, who's going first?
You are.
Oh, okay, great. So I opened Mars Edit for the first time in probably since the second Bush administration. And I opened it because I realized, oh, you know what? Well, I just wanted to see it. It's on SetUp. We all love SetUp. And
Mars Edit is so good.
The great thing about SetUp is it allows me to there's a lot of apps that have just been gloriously in production and improving for decades that are at SetUp, so I can open them and be like, look at you. You're all grown up. And the fun I had with Mars Edit was a couple things. I actually really enjoy creating Mastodon posts in Mars Edit, which you can do. I don't like making Mastodon posts in Mastodon, even though I used Ivory, which is great. Tweetbots, Xbots, RIP. But the reason I'm actually bringing up Mars Edit, which I will just say is delightful, is it helped me to archive my many, many Tumblr blogs.
Oh, nice.
Every once in a while, I'm like, I should go out and just make a list of all the fucking ghosts I have out there. And so I was able to archive. I mean, I have Tumblr blogs where there's like 3 posts, right?
No, same.
Like, oh, this is a great idea.
How do you do this with Mars Edit? You just log in with your Tumblr name?
You can log in with Tumblr and it just sucks in all the posts, which is really great. And including the misspellings.
For all your various WordPress sites as well.
And the WordPress sites, yep, for sure. And somehow you can still at least import your Blogspot sites, which I haven't. It's a little trickier. The Blogspot API or the Blogger API went away in terms of being able to post from Mars Edit, but it seems like you can still import from there, and I need to do that because I have a lot of those too. I used to just spray blogs indiscriminately into the crowd.
Same.
It's just but that was probably early bipolar and also ADHD stuff. I have an idea. It now must be real.
The undiagnosed years, sure.
I was gonna say, I think that it's like it's both Tumblr, Tumblr. It's both ADHD and like tech early adopter thing, right? Because I think that I know so many tech people who, as many of them aren't even ADHD, who are just like, oh, I have an idea. I want to start a blog. Because we always have this itch. Like, it's the easiest thing to do is to spin up another website or another blog.
Yes.
And
with a really funny name.
Yeah.
Well, look, it's insane to think about the days before you could do that.
Oh.
Like, what did people like us, when we had an idea, what did we do? Like, maybe we made a zine, but mostly we just told our friends. And suddenly, like, people our age suddenly had this, we can spin up a Tumblr, we can spin up a blogger site, we can share this with the whole world.
GeoCities. Yeah, we have Zanga.
It was such a glorious time, and this is the second episode I think in a row that we talked about Tumblr. It was such a glorious time, and I'm so glad I had those Tumblrs because they're like little journals, and even the ones that were just 3 posts. Now, what's nice about having the Mars Edit is there's everything, right? It's all there, and that's really nice. And so even if it had 3 posts, it's now alongside 10 other Tumblrs that had 6 to 40 posts each. My proudest blog title, and this one's dead, was Skinny Notebook Full of Code, which was when I first started coding as a journalist. And I was like, I have a skinny notebook full of code. And I thought that was a great name. Anyway.
Oh,
that's a good one.
On the show notes, wasn't your pick originally Jupyter Notebooks?
Jupyter Labs.
So, okay, we're going to talk about that in the future, I hope. Yeah. I feel like that is exactly the kind of coding you did in journalism.
I moved this down in place of it because I had it as a topic because I wanted to talk about it on my Tumblrs. So I snuck it in gratitude.
I would like two points I'll add to the Mars Edit discussion. I recently gave away Mars Edit, a few copies on brettterpstra.com. There will be a link in the show notes for the upcoming giveaways. And this week is Black Ink from Daniel Jalcut, who also made Mars Edit.
Nice.
And Black Ink is a great
and Fast Scripts.
Yeah. I think I already did the Fast Script.
You did.
Yeah. Black Ink is a great crossword puzzle. Like if you want to solve,
I need to try it.
Really
I can finish a crossword puzzle 5 times faster using Black Ink than I can even using like an online version where you have to type.
Why? Why is it faster?
Keyboard shortcuts, man.
Oh,
like
shit.
you can just flip through the whole thing and you see a clue and you get a couple cross letters.
Thanks for not saying key chords.
Switch your orientation, type out the word you think it is.
And it's a great app.
I will try it.
It's like I love I pay for it's like I guess it's part of a New York Times subscription or whatever, but you get the games and whatnot and that stuff.
Love it. So Wednesday.
Yeah, and so like I like their app a lot. Like I think that their iOS
app is great.
I'll
do the mini on the iOS.
Oh, totally.
App, if I'm going to do the actual crossword, Black Ink is the way to
go. I was going to say, but I really enjoy being able to like have it on my Mac. Like it's a really great app. But
That's
yeah,
cool.
So shout out to Jacob because he's the best. for sure. My favorite Tumblr, incidentally, is because I had a whole bunch of them too. It's fuckyeahcorrections.tumblr.com.
The whole fuck yeah idea.
So good.
Was so great. Fuck yeah corrections. Okay, is this still up?
Yeah, it is. And so the impetus was that, do you remember Alex from Target? He was like this kid who was like cute.
Yeah.
Who somebody like did a meme on. This was 10 years ago now. The New York Times wrote about it. And because it's the New York Times, somebody on Twitter had a meme showing Kel from Good Burger. And this is the correction. November 10th, 2014. An article on Thursday about the latest internet sensation of, quote, Alex from Target, end quote, a picture of a teenager bagging merchandise at the retailer that went viral online, described incorrectly a subsequent internet posting of, quote, Kel from Good Burger, end quote. It was a frame from the 1997 film Good Burger starring actor Kel Mitchell. It was not a photograph of a teenager in a job.
Wow.
So Christina's always asking us if we've heard of, fads, viral topics, memes. And Jeff and I are always like, no, but you bring up Alex from Target and we're like, oh yeah.
You were like, yeah, because that was like Halcyon Days. Like it was so good. But
well, it's like how the only sports team I can talk about is the 1987 Twins. Like it's a thing. Related to my AARP conversation, which I'll save for next week. Sorry, Christina.
I was going to say that there's another funny one too. An article last Sunday about Bradley Cooper, who is starring in a Broadway revival of The Elephant Man, referred incorrectly to the London address where Joseph Carey Merrick, the real Elephant Man, exhibited himself. The address is now a sorry store. It is not, our sincerest apologies, a sorry store.
That reminds me of something I'll say briefly, which is I was recently talking to a friend who works at a news organization for which you would be disappointed to learn what I'm about to tell you, which is that they're in the process of unionizing. And one of the things they hope to get out of being a union is fact checkers. And let me tell you,
yeah,
if you knew what this organization was, which one day you will, it would be very disappointing.
This was one of my favorites because I didn't have a lot of posts on this Tumblr. It was one that I started in 2014 and then forgot about promptly. The AP deleted a tweet that incorrectly referred to Lauren Conrad as Lauren Hill. A corrected tweet will be published shortly. Because they're like, oh, Lauren from the Hills is Lauren. I mean, it's so good.
Oh my God. I love it. All
right, Christina, what you got?
All right, so this is one that I've talked about before, but a new version just came out, so I'm going to give it a shout out again. So this is FFworks, which is a great FFmpeg front end for macOS. It's at ffworks.info, and it is, or actually that's not correct.
Is it .net?
It's .net. That is correct. Yes, it's ffworks.net. My bad. My apologies. But FFworks 4 just came out. And I don't remember what the upgrade price was, although it was fairly low. I think that it's still like £22, I think, for the full version. And
how many meters away from your wallet are you?
I mean, because he sells it, or he sells it in euros, or he sells it in pounds, and so you've got to buy it like that way. So it's it's €22.
I understand.
So because I think he's German. So whatever the
opens up solver. Hello, gratitude.
So exactly. So okay. So it's 14 euros to upgrade, and then it's 22 for the new thing. And this is just a great app,
which is $23.82 US.
Oh, hey, great.
DuckDuckGo.
Okay, well that's fantastic because that means that the dollar is either
the exchange rate is great. Yeah.
I was gonna say the exchange rate is actually good now because before that'd be like, oh, okay, so that's $30 or something.
It was about like 1.5 not too long ago.
It was exactly. So I'm like, okay, good. So what's great about this is that if it's like, we've talked about FFmpeg before. It is one of those tools that I use all the time for so many different things. And it's great if you need, many times you do need to like re-encode media into different formats and whatnot. But the problem with FFmpeg is that even with ChatGPT, like writing scripts, even with ChatGPT, remembering what to fucking do with it is a nightmare. It's like the most useful application of all time. And it's actually well designed. I'm not even going to lie and be like, oh, it's not like a well-designed syntax or whatever. It's just got so many fucking options that who can keep track of them? It's like image magic, right? Like these are these amazing utilities.
And a lot of the options you don't know
about, right?
Like you're not so well versed in video formats that you would understand what the option will actually do to the end video. So a GUI is so nice for that.
It is. And what I like about this GUI is that it is, in my opinion, like the perfect kind of mix, because there are two ways I think you could go about doing this. You could that could be successful. There's a third way, which would be the Linux way, which we'll talk about. I could talk about at length, which would be the bad way. But the two ways you could do this successfully to like make a GUI of an FFmpeg thing would be to either A, have a very simple drag and drop process where you then have like permute, where you just have like a very like easy kind of slider and it's just telling you what to do, but you really can't go that advanced, and you can't go beyond kind of what a lot of things you could do in QuickTime back in the day, right? Or you can do what FFWorks does, which is give you all those options. It hides them to a certain extent, so you have to kind of go looking if you want to do more with it, and you do need to kind of, it's not going to be the most intuitive thing to be able to figure out, oh, I can do all these things, but it definitely does service all your options. But what I appreciated about it is that unlike if this were a Linux desktop app, this would literally just be every single option available in FFmpeg as like a checkbox or a slider, but with no understanding of what any of that means, and like not well organized. Like it would just be a disaster. This is actually,
you're going to talk about Linux and Israel Palestine in the same episode.
I mean, look, wow, you're. I feel suitably owned. That's fucking perfect. But that's so good. But yeah, no, but
they're different.
Are they? Are they?
Different.
It's so different. Yeah.
Don't they both date back to like 1948?
But they both, exactly. Oh. But they have similar characteristics in the rhetorical space.
Yeah, more than. So yeah. So, but I was just gonna say, but I appreciate this like application so much, because I do like that it treats you like an adult, and that you can make it really easy. Like you can set up a droplet to just make it really easy to auto convert stuff. But if you do need to, the reason that someone would want to use this app over permute is because you do need to use this more advanced parts of FFmpeg, but you don't want to fuck with it. So honestly, for $23, highly recommended. And it gets very frequent updates, and works with like 4K and 5K footage and stuff. So it's really good.
Very nice.
How many rubles is it going to set me back?
Oh, check DuckDuckGo. I bet it would do that conversion for you.
I just downloaded it. I had actually forgotten about this, and I think it's great.
What is 22 euros and rupees? That's what I want to know. So my pick is I spent my morning creating the RSS feed for dimspire.me. Which ended up being a very manual process, which I then ported to FeedPress and made like you can do an email subscription and everything. But as I was testing it, I opened up my trusty RSS app, which lately has been Reader, Reeder.
Mm-hmm.
There are a ton, like NetNewsWire and ReadKit, and there are so many good RSS apps for Mac, but I keep coming back to Reader. I love the single key keyboard shortcuts. I love some of the niceties of the interface. I love bionic reading, which will like,
what is that?
It re-highlights, it bolds certain letters in each word. So have you ever seen the font Open Dyslexic?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, and it creates like kind of a magnet for your eyes, so you can scan a line and pick it up maybe 50% faster than you would reading just plain text. It really helps with speed reading. It's kind of cool.
Awesome.
Reader also has like iCloud Sync. If you don't feel like using it, works with Feedbin and all of the other various services that replaced Feedburner, back from the day. Which I'm grateful for, but Reader has iCloud subscription sync, so you can get your feeds synced across your devices without having to use a third-party service. Personally, I use Feedbin. I love it. I think it's great, but you have options. So
nice.
That's my gratitude.
Awesome.
And you still use FeedBreast to manage your RSS feeds. Is there, and that's like $10 a month or something, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's for unlimited feeds. So I have feeds for multiple sites.
Okay.
And I do pay, like, there's a free version that you don't get, like email subscription, and you can't do podcasts and stuff like that. But if you want basically unlimited feeds and the ability to embed audio and have email subscriptions and all of that, yeah, it's like $10 a month. But
yeah,
I have enough feeds to justify that.
No, I mean, I think that makes sense. I was just yeah, because at this point, like, FeedBurner is, I think, just only
gone.
I think it's basically gone. I mean, I think that, like, it exists only insofar, like, they've gotten rid of almost every single feature. So, which is a shame, because, like, that was free for so long.
Yeah.
And
so is Google Reader. And
I know.
Where we are now.
But like, FeedBurner seems dumb, because it's just like, okay, it's just like a front end thing, like, for, it's generating like RSS files, like, you're hosting them yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
I love FeedPress, partly because, much like Pinboard, it's kind of a low maintenance business.
It is. Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name. It's an Italian name, but Maxime, or was that? Anyway, like he's making $10 a month off of all these people who are just forwarding the RSS feeds they're already creating.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Through something that offers analytics through basically a PHP script.
Right.
And that's I'm happy to pay it, but also I could stand to have like a passive income like that required probably very little actual, like, customer service or anything.
Oh, I'm sure there's almost none. And honestly, like, I'm not mad at him at all. Like, I'm happy for him for it.
No.
I think my whole, like, issue with it is, I'm like, why should I pay $10 a month for this? I know that, like, that if you have enough sites, like, it is actually going to be like,
like, it's
more,
stats. It's stats.
Well,
if you want,
and I get that.
If you want statistics, you need it.
No, and I get that. I'm just saying, like, when you know how little it is, there's, like, the part of my mind which is broken, which goes to, well, why don't I just spend that $10 a month
there you go.
on a VPS server where I'm hosting this myself and doing all this myself? Why am I paying someone else for it? And then, of course, I realize, well, you don't want to fucking maintain that, Christina. Like, shut up.
Exactly.
And I get that. And that's why he can have this passive income. But I'm saying the part of my brain that's broken is that I'm like, and sorry to
if I put
reader.
8 hours of coding into this, I could do it for basically free.
Right. That's exactly it.
I have that same part of my brain. You're not alone.
So I'm, but I'm happy for him that, like, it's still there. And also happy. I haven't used Reader in a while. I honestly didn't know Reader was still being updated. So
I didn't either.
Yeah,
that's great.
It is. Yeah, they came out with a new, I think it was this year, maybe last year, they came out with a whole, like, major version bump. Honestly, NetNewsWire kind of stole the show.
Yeah.
And it's a great app. There are some things about Reader that I miss when I use NetNewsWire. But NetNewsWire is free, and it's a solid app, and it's really good to see it come back after, like, how long did it go unmaintained? Like 10 years?
A long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that Brent Simmons now?
Yeah, it's Brent Simmons. Well, he was it originally, and then he sold it to NetGator. He did it, and then
got it back.
And then he got it back. Yeah, he was able to get it back, and then he decided to make it open source, which I think is really remarkable and amazing. Yeah. And at this point, I think that's what I use, or I just use, like, honestly, Feedbin's website has been good enough for me.
ReadKit was really good.
I really
did
like
buggy
ReadKit.
for me.
Yeah.
It started hanging and crashing, and, like, that was a few operating systems ago, and maybe it's fine now. 'Cause it had a lot of cool features that made it worth the price for me at the time. But anyhow, hey, we did it in 1 hour and 22 minutes.
Hey, that's great.
Like, no edits.
No edits.
I'm not gonna edit anything. We said what we said. We're gonna leave it all in.
All right. Then I guess I hope you get more sleep tonight.
Yeah, for real.
Too. Get some sleep.
Yeah, get some sleep, everyone. For real.
The system is going down low.